Okay, so I'm gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible. So I watched the first episode of Insatiable, the new Netflix series starring Alyssa Milano, and I have to say I think it's going to be a hoot. I think it's going to be a good cackle because the people in this town are nutty as fruitcakes. Okay, based on the accents, it sounds like it's a southern town, and so you have the Barnards. So the Barnards are the people in town. When you think of high society, you think of them. Etta, the mom, who's on every board in town that matters. Bob is the DA. Her husband Bob is the DA, and their daughter Magnolia is the popular girl in school, and she wins all the beauty pageants. And then you have the Armstrongs, Coralee, Bob, and Brick. Bob is an attorney who was a partner in his father's law firm. Coralee is I don't know if you would consider her a housewife, a homemaker, but she's trying to get on Etta's level. So, and then their son Brick, who's the popular boy in school. Then you have Patty and Angie. Patty is the lead character in the story. Patty was the big girl in school. Is the big girl in school because they're still in high school, and we've seen all the after school specials and the videos of the kids being tormented and tortured, and that was basically her experience. Angie, Patty's mom, is a recovering alcoholic, and I don't know if she used to be the town whore, but so it looks like she's a recovering alcoholic and the reform hoe, and she works at the Wiener Dog or the Wiener something other. I have no idea. And then you have Regina and Dixie. Regina is a pageant mom. Dixie is her daughter, and Bob Armstrong was Dixie's coach. And so the show basically opens with Patty basically give you I guess you would say, her background as far as dealing with her weight and how she's being treated. So, she's had a weight problem since she was a kid. And no matter what she's done, she, can't seem to lose that weight. She has her ride or die, her homegirl. For the life of me, I cannot remember her name. And she's basically her dealing with being a teenager and being overweight and the whole high school experience. And then you flash to Bob. Bob is actually, at this point, he's a licensed attorney, but he's also involved in the pageant world. So he is actually a pageant going on. Magnolia and Dixie are competing in this pageant. And he's trying to coach Dixie on topics to talk about. And so Regina and Dixie, they're sitting in the back. He's helping her with her makeup and all that. And she made some comment about they made some comments about trans people. And he was like, oh my God, you can't talk about this. You can't say that. People are going to think you're homophobic. And so they basically sat there and was like, yeah, we want all the homophobics to leave the country. So he about passed out and he just looked like, oh my God, from that point you already knew it was going to be a mess. And so of course you saw Bob, Barnard, he comes back because Magnolia is back also getting ready to give her, kiss and to, wish her well and all the whole thing. And so I don't know if Bob Barnard necessarily thinks that he's competing against Bob Armstrong, but Bob Armstrong definitely wants to stick it to the Barnards for whatever reason. He just feel like their family is just too perfect, and they just, in a sense you can understand that because you've met people and it's like they just seem like they gotta just they seem like they're everything that you're not. You know what I'm saying? They seem like they got the perfect jobs, perfect families. It's like their life seems to work. Everything seems to work out in their favor. And so he, for whatever reason, feels like Bob Barnard is like the bane of his existence. And not because Bob Barnard has actually done anything to him. I don't think. Like I said, it's just the first episode. But he just wants to stick it to this man so bad. So, Dixie ends up losing the competition. And Regina didn't take it well. She ends up blaming Bob for whatever reason because your daughter is an idiot. I think they asked her, Dixie, about what did she think about ISIS. And her response was something like, "Oh, I like ices. I think orange is my favorite flavor." Okay, so she lost. Magnolia won, and Regina was just undone. Right, she became undone. She hops on the stage, and she was so upset that she pointed her finger at Bob and said, "He touched my daughter's hoo-hoo." So, of course, now with accusations like that, they don't have to necessarily be true for people to give you the side eye in the street, right? So, here we are. We flash to 3 months later. He's walking into the office. He's a partner in his father's law firm. His father's basically reading him the you embarrass his damn family. You're embarrassed. You need to do better. You need to we need to fix this. And so the case of Patty comes up. So let's flash back a little bit. Patty gets into an altercation with the homeless man. So Patty was coming out of a convenience store. She had purchased a candy bar. She was she was kind of down. She purchased a candy bar. She's sitting on the curb outside the convenience store about to eat this candy bar. A homeless man walks up, says something to her, and then he's like, "Oh, that candy bar looks good." He tries to take her candy bar. She punched the shit out of him and broke his nose. And what you don't expect is that this grown man balled his fist up and punched the shit out of her back and broke her jaw. So fast forward 3 months later, her case is given to Bob Armstrong. And he tells us that, I thought we didn't take pro bono cases. He's and the dad was basically like, we need to do something to repair our image. Because at this point, Bob is known as Chester the Molester around town. So, he goes to meet with the mom, and at this point, he hasn't met Patty. So remember, Patty's jaw has been wired shut for a period of time. So when he finally meets Patty, I'm not going to talk about everything that happens in the show. You have to watch the episode. So we're going to fast forward the whole meeting with her mom. But the first time he sees Patty is out in front of the courthouse. And so I will say that when he went to meet with her mom, she did show him the yearbook, and he saw that she was overweight. So when he got to the courthouse, he didn't see her. And so Patty, she turns around, and he was just in heaven. Because in his mind, he was going to use Patty to finally one up Barnard by Patty beating Magnolia in the pageant. But first, he knew he had to get Patty off to get the charges thrown out. So he goes into the courthouse to meet with Bob Barnard, because Bob Barnard is the DA, and saying there's no evidence. This is basically he said, she said. We can just move to have this case thrown out. Bob Barnard was like, well, no, a witness came forward. So now so that's kind of throwing a monkey wrench in his plan on asking her to compete and to allow him to coach her. And so his wife, Coralee, Bob Armstrong's wife, has planned this event for I'm assuming colon cancer, but he was handing out those ribbons talking about ass cancer or something. These people are fruitcakes. So I think he meets with Patty shortly before the charity event to talk about the case and find out what happened. So they get to at this point, Patty has developed an infatuation with Bob. So Bob, and they're at this event, they're handing out ribbons. Now, these causes always have a ribbon of a particular color. Red is for HIV and AIDS, pink is for cancer. They're handing out these shit brown ribbons, putting them to people, their dresses and the jacket collars and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, Lord. And even their son was like, why did you choose this color? Like that? Come on now. So while they're at this event, greeting the people as they're coming in, who walks in? Patty. And at this point, Coralee doesn't know that he has this new case dealing with Patty. So she's standing there like, what the hell is going on? Who the hell is this? And he explains to her, this is my new client. This is Patty. Da, da, da. So she pulls him to the side and was like, are you insane? You're known around town, basically, as just as a damn molester. And this young girl is walking in here dressed like that. She had, Patty had on some little shirt that I think it was tied at the waist. She had on these little booty shorts or something, walking to this event, girl. A hot ass mess. And he was like, she was basically like, you need to get her out of here or I will. So he walks over to talk to Patty. He's trying to, shuttle her on out the door. Who walks in? Regina and Dixie. So now he's like, oh, damn it. And so, of course, Patty's like, what? And so he, for whatever reason, told Patty, she's the reason why this rumor is going around town about me being the molester. So Patty takes it upon herself to confront Regina and Dixie. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. So at that point, Coralee was like, security! Like, we need to get her out of here right now. Right this minute. So they get her out. And as they're getting her out the door, Coralee's like, are you insane? Like, do you see I'm trying to get us back in everybody's good graces, and you got this mess going on? So they go into the event. He's giving this speech because it was supposed to be an honor, what he thought was an honor of his mother who died of colon cancer. But it was really an event that Coralee put together just so she can have, and, invite the upper echelons in society to this event to kind of schmooze with him to kind of get their foot in the door, right? But he's up there giving his speech. For whatever reason, Regina is in the damn audience. Now, this is supposed to be a grown woman with a teenage daughter. She's out in the audience making fart noises. So he eventually gets fed up and lashes out at her verbally. And now it's like, oh. So Coralee is like, all my hard work is being undone. So the next day, they're sitting around, I guess, working out. They're watching some exercise video. He's on the floor doing using something that looks like a thigh master. And she's sitting on the arm of the chair where she got a weight in one arm and I think a cocktail in another. I forget what she had in her arm. Just basically like, just over it, right? And so I think that's what he called Patty to let her know that I think that there was a witness that came forward, and so the case is not going to be as clean cut, that they need to meet to talk. And so at this point, Patty's at home. I was in a room with her friend. Assuming this is when this happened. And so Patty steps out to take the call. So her friend, who, Lord, I'm going to have her name by the next episode, next review. She picks up Patty's little book, and she saw that Patty has the name of Bob written all over with little doodles. Teenage stuff. You get a crush on somebody, and so you put their name, your first name with their last name, and this whole nonsense. She had all this all through this book. And now the friend, her homegirl, she's actually in love with Patty, but Patty is just completely oblivious to it, and especially now that she's infatuated with Bob. So, Bob ends up taking Patty to, like, she's a doll. I mean, he bought her some stuff to wear to court, and then obviously so they can go over what her testimony is going to be. So he's working her with it. So he picks out this dress and these pearls, and I mean, like, he's just like, she's like a living, breathing doll that he's dressing up. But whatever. So so Patty's back at school, and for whatever reason, people are acting like they don't recognize her. So she's lost all this weight, and people are acting like they had never seen this girl before, forever. It says, ever. Like she's new at the school or something. And so it's like when she was obviously heavier, everybody saw her coming, but now that she's thin and beautiful, now it's like she's invisible. Like people see her, but they don't. Like she's just there. But she's also finding that, so you have people that talk about when they lose weight. When they were heavier, people reacted differently towards them, and then when they lost the weight, then they noticed that the behavior of people also changed. People around them changed, and so obviously now that she's considered acceptable and beautiful, guys are taking notice of her. And there was actually this one guy in school that made a pass at her, but she's all her eyes are all about Bob. And so I know I'm forgetting some stuff, but like I said, the episode was only 30 minutes, but they have a lot of stuff packed into the 30 minutes. So at this point, Regina has hired a private investigator because her goal in life now to catch Bob and performing some indecent act on a child. So she's hired this investigator. So I think the investigator was at the event, the charity event, And when there was a scene where Bob and Coralee, they went to the nail shop to get their mayonnaise patties to get their feet in the whole thing. And he was there too. So he's following Bob all around town. Now at this point at the nail shop, they're talking about like what's going on, and obviously the Barnards and Bob and the whole thing. And then Coralie was like, okay, so you don't even care about this girl. You're only trying to use her to get back at so she could beat Magnolia. And so he starts going on his whole thing about how they're so perfect, and how Magnolia, because she has something stuck up her butt and the whole kind of thing, right? And they didn't even see that Magnolia walked up. And so they was like, oh, hi, honey, trying to play it off. And Coralie was like, oh, it was just a coincidence seeing you here. And Magnolia was like, I work here. She had a stack of towels in her hand. She was like, I work here. So Coralie was like, oh, maybe not so surprising at all. So, okay, so I'm going to head out. And so she basically left Bob to deal with this. And so it was Bob talking all the smack. And so, Magnolia was like, yeah, I understand. I agree with you when it comes to my father. But do you really feel that way about me? And so Bob, being an attorney, and then some slick something others, he was like, I know what it's like to have pressure put on you by your father, and being expected to live up to their expectations, and da da da. And so Magnolia was like, what would really stick it to my father? If I hired you to be my coach. So, can you come by the house later on tonight so we can talk about it, go over it? And so he was sitting there like, oh, what? Wow, sure, okay. So at this time, you kind of see in the far off that the private investigator's there. So now he knows that Bob is going to be at the Barnard's house. So for whatever reason, again, you're known as Chester the Molester around the town, and so you decide to go to their house. Okay, so Bob gets there, and she shows up at the door with the cocktail. She hands him, some scotch, and she had a glass too. So she invites him up to her room so he can see her outfits or whatever, down with the hell. So she starts seducing him and taking his clothes off. Now he's in front. All this is happening in front of a window. Okay, coincidentally in front of a window that has no blinds, and I don't know if it had blinds, but it didn't have any curtains. So the private investigator was able to get a clean shot of him in that girl's bedroom with no top on. So how do you think that's gonna play out? Okay, so her parents get home, and Bob Barnard calls out to her. So his old ass ends up having to go out the window. So now he gets out the window, and he's sitting in his car. And we're going to stop there. So we're going to flash to Patty and Angie. Now, it's Angie's, she's been sober for 100 days at this point. And so Patty goes with her to her meeting. And so while they're sitting in the meeting, a familiar face walks in. So it's old boy, the homeless guy that broke her jaw. And the reason she knew this is because when he started talking, he said they asked him what brought him there. And he was talking about how he had this drinking problem, how he punched some fat chick. And so she was like, so of course she's sitting over there steaming. Again, because she's lost his weight, nobody recognizes her. So he didn't even realize he was sitting directly across from her. So her homegirl was there also. And so Patty, in her teenage mind, decided that she was going to seduce this man and sleep with him to ruin his life. And of course, her friend was like, well, don't you want your first time to be with somebody that loves you? Basically, she was talking about her, because she's in love with Patty. And Patty was like, no, I want revenge. So the next thing you know, you see Patty in the hotel room with this guy, this crack hotel. I don't even know what the hell, Motel 6 kind of spot. In the hotel with this dude. He ain't no kind of sober. He's still drinking the whole time she's there, right? And he's got his top off, and he's like down to his boxers. She has her shirt on, and she still has her panties on. And I'm thinking, okay, that was pretty bad. But I can't say I'm glad that the actual sex act didn't happen. Okay, I'll say that. So he took some. I don't know how long he had been drinking, but he took another swig, and then he was out. And so of course she's now mad because her plan to seduce him to ruin his life is not going the way she, not going as smoothly as she thought it would. So while he's passed out, she still has one of them damn has a candy bar in her purse, and she sitting there eating the candy bar. She turns on the TV and Firestarter is on. So she's thinking now, She turns around and she sees it's still some vodka or gin. I don't know what was in that bottle. Still in the bottle. And so she takes the bottle and she pours it all over him. He never flinches, never wakes up. So this man was like in a stupor. And then she takes a book of matches. And she was thinking, all I have to do is strike this shit and set this man ablaze. But then you flash back to Bob in the car. And Lord have mercy, did he not reach up and he reached up and pulled off his damn toupee. And you see that he's balding. I was like, I'm sitting there with my mouth hanging up like, oh my God. And then he reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a gun. Because now he's contemplating this whole life. Like, what is he going to do with his life? And then you flash into, and then his phone rings. And then you flash to Patty. She's still about to strike this match. And then something, she has this epiphany, like, because he had made some comment to her about, you should be focused on living your life and living it to the fullest and this, that, and the third. How she can be an inspiration to other girls who struggle with their weight and by competing in these pageants or whatever. And at the time he said that, Angie was like, I'm not going to leave my daughter to be objectified by, and not at least by older men. So I don't know if, it's going to be interesting to see Patty and Angie's relationship now that she's thin. And I guess now that she's considered thin and beautiful. And Patty, she's thin, but she's aging. And so Patty talked a lot about when she was younger, how she was Miss Hot Thing, right? And so now your daughter is now Miss Beauty Queen. And I don't know how that's going to impact their relationship, but I have a feeling it's going to have some effect on it. But, so she basically called him at that time, we had the gun in his hand. It was like, I don't care what my mother says, I'm going to do this. And so you can see that his face light up, like, now he has a reason for living, which is interesting. I'm like, it wasn't your wife, it wasn't your kid. The fact that you do these pageants is now giving you a second lease on life. That was an interesting moment. But that was basically how the episode ended. I think I'm going to like this show. Like I said, these people are too much. They are over the top. But it's funny as hell. So I'm going to leave this here and I will talk to you guys in the next video.